Welcome to a new world's top. Never underestimate the ability of mankind to commit crimes. Sadly, not even 1/4 of the 21st century has passed, but the list of evil men is growing and growing. Here are world's top 10 most evil men of the 21st century. Listen and shudder. Number 1. Vladimir Putin. Putin started off reasonably well, although there are unconfirmed stories that his cronies planted bombs in Russian apartment buildings to help him grab the presidency in 1999. The longer he is in power, the more evil he has become, leveling Grozny, attacking Georgia, grabbing the Crimea, carpet bombing in Syria, imprisoning. Poisoning and assassinating opponents, muzzling the free press. When one would think it could not get worse, Vlad had another surprise: the unprovoked attack of Ukraine, an independent and peaceful nation, in February 2022. But thanks to the heroism of the Ukrainian people, it is not the walkover he expected. So, increasingly, he is again using sheer terror to bombard Ukraine back to the Stone Age. 10 million Ukrainians displaced, 4 million refugees. We thought this kind of behavior ended in Europe after World War II. Number 2 and number 3, Kim Jong-Il and Kim Jong-Un. It is difficult to distinguish between these two evil leaders, father and son of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Everything in the country's name is a lie. It is dictatorial, the people have no say, and it is a monarchy with the father being succeeded by the son. The three Kims suggest that being evil may be a predilection that resides in the bloodstream. Under Papa Kim Jong-Il, dear leader, millions died because of food scarcity. Amnesty International condemned him for leaving millions of North Koreans mired in poverty and detaining hundreds of thousands of people in prison camps, where many died. Babyface Kim Jong-un was not much of an improvement. Human rights are non-existent, and his true or imagined opponents, or people he just does not like, are killed with methods that make the Spanish Inquisition look like a spa. While the people suffer, the Kims spend whatever money they have on the development of nuclear weapons. Now, that is truly scary. Number 4. Bashar al-Assad. Bashar al-Assad was trained as an ophthalmologist. I guess he never took the Hippocratic Oath. In 2000, he succeeded his father after his death, another evil man, in an election where he got 97.3% of the votes. I guess they took the Kims as example for a hereditary dynasty, although I am not sure whether the Kims even bothered to have elections. In 2011, the long-suffering Syrian people had had enough of the poverty, corruption, and oppression of Bashar's regime. They revolted. Our evil doctor responded in the only way he knew: brutal repression, large-scale murder, and devastation. But the rebels were too strong, so he called in the Hezbollah from Lebanon and Iranian Revolutionary Guard. What a crowd! But he was unable to turn the tide even with their help. So he turned to fellow dictator Vlad, who was only too happy to help. Bashar gained the upper hand, helped by the Russian Air Force, which destroyed much of rebel-held territory, and by using poison gas against his fellow countrymen. Millions of Syrians have fled, creating a humanitarian disaster. Number 5. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. The self-proclaimed first caliph of the Islamic State was no joke. He learned his terrorist game from al-Qaeda in Iraq before he and his followers broke away from this organization and formed Islamic State. I guess al-Qaeda was too soft. ISIS briefly captured much territory in Iraq and Syria before they lost it all. But while ISIS was at the top of its game, Baghdadi wasted no time. Among his terrorist palmers are the genocide of Yazidis in Iraq, extensive sexual slavery, organized rape, floggings, and systematic execution of prisoners and opponents via hacking, stoning, and burning. He also found time to destroy World Heritage places, the most beautiful being ancient Palmyra. When U.S. soldiers were onto him, he killed himself and 2 of his children. Number 6. Osama bin Laden. He requires no introduction. FDR famously said on December 8, 1941, about the treacherous attack of the Japanese Imperial Navy on Pearl Harbor, a date which will live in infamy. 9/11 fits into the same category. In fact, more people died on 9/11 than on 12/7. Bin Laden was its organizer and mastermind, sending others, never himself, to their death. He became America's most wanted terrorist, and justice was meted out to him on May 2, 2011 at 1 a.m. Navy SEALs did the job.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda.
The SEALs also found a huge stash of porn tapes in his compound. Apparently, the self-righteous terrorist persecuting women for being loose was not above sampling the strictly condemned fruits himself. Not only a terrorist, but also a hypocrite. Number 7. Burmese junta. We should not identify one man here. The Burmese military junta are collectively really bad news. It has repressed Burma, aka Myanmar, which is economically underdeveloped and poor. Countless people were killed. Others, the luckier ones, were merely imprisoned. The most famous being Nobel Peace Prize winner Aung San Suu Kyi. Between 2011 and 2015, the junta allowed a stepwise return to democracy, although they retained much power, e.g., having the right to appoint 25% of all MPs. civilians. But the junta did not just want to sit on their hands. In 2016, they initiated the genocide of the Rohingya, a Muslim minority in the Buddhist majority country. Over 1 million were forced to flee to other countries. Thousands perished. It is a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. Then, in November 2021, something unpleasant happened, at least in the eyes of the junta. Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy overwhelmingly won the parliamentary elections. The junta-backed party won less than 10% of the seats. Clearly, the people did not like the military that much. Reasonable leaders would draw the conclusion that they should take a step back. But then, the army top is not populated with reasonable people. On February 1, 2021, the junta deposed the democratically elected government and a state of emergency declared. New elections will be called when the timing is right. Keep on dreaming. Number 8. Nicolas Maduro. When do people finally learn that socialism does not work? Well, this elemental lesson is clearly beyond the grasp of Nicolas Maduro, since he assumed office in 2013 upon the death of Hugo Chavez, an otherworthy character. Venezuela has been in a virtual economic tailspin. The former bus driver clearly understands nothing about how to run a country. Its GDP capita declined from $12,000 in 2012 to $1,620 in 2022. Never in economic history has so much of a nation's wealth been destroyed in so short a time. So, why is he still in power? Repression, helped by Cuban secret police, lent to him by his buddy Raul. According to the United Nations, under Maduro, more than 9,000 people have been killed, and almost 6 million Venezuelans have fled the country in search of food, medicine, jobs, you name it. The Department of State will pay $15 million for information that helps bring him to justice. When that day comes, the suffering people of Venezuela will explode in joy and celebration. In fact, an attempt was made on his life while he was giving a speech. Number 9. Daniel Ortega. Some people do not know when to stop. Ortega is one of them. The former Sandinista leader ran Nicaragua into the ground as its president between 1979 and 1990. Another example of a failed socialist state. He came back in 2007 and clinches to power with every means at his disposal. In the early part of his second stint as president, he did a reasonable job, relatively speaking at least, but power corrupts. Corruption, cronyism, economic mismanagement, electoral fraud, you name it. In 2018, the people rose in protest. Ortega responded in the only way he knew, repression. Hundreds were killed, many others imprisoned and tortured, and the people of Nicaragua suffer and suffer. Number 10. Raul Castro. Here, we have another deluded socialist, communist. In 60 years of communist dictatorship, Cuba has been run into the ground, first by Fidel Castro and for much of the last 2 decades by his brother Raul. Communism is so bad that this fertile island cannot even feed itself. The Cuban people themselves have long lost their faith in the blessings of communism. How much better off would the Cuban people be if the Castros would never have seen the light of day? So, how did Raul stay in power? By using the familiar playbook of repression. Raul Castro's government has used draconian laws and sham trials to incarcerate scores more who have dared to exercise their fundamental freedoms, said Human Rights Watch in a report. The report, New Castro, Same Cuba, paints a near dystopian image of an island, where those who step out of line risk being beaten and jailed in horrific conditions which verge on torture. And yet, this guy has received many honors and awards, albeit mostly from unsavory and autocratic regimes like North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela. I guess they believe that they can learn something from Raul how to destroy your country into the ground. And that's it for today. See you in the next World's Top.